What if you woke up tomorrow and something felt heavier? Not just your mood, not your responsibilities, but the very ground beneath your feet pulling you down harder than ever. You look around the horizon, feels more distant, the skies look deeper, and strangely everyone's struggling to walk. It turns out the Earth has doubled in size, literally. Its diameter, mass, and volume, everything has grown. Our world, as we knew it, is now something entirely different. But how different would life be? Could we adapt? Or would civilization collapse under the sheer weight of this new Earth? Let us imagine what happens when Earth suddenly becomes twice as big and explore how that changes everything about our planet, our technology, our bodies, and our way of life. To begin with, if the diameter of the Earth doubles, the consequences are far greater than they appear at first glance. Because volume increases with the cube of the radius, doubling the diameter makes the planet 8 times larger in volume. And if the density remains the same, its mass also increases 8-fold. That directly affects gravity. On this larger Earth, gravity would be about twice as strong. Every object on the surface would feel twice as heavy as before. A person who normally weighs 70 kilograms would now feel like they weigh 140. That makes even walking a challenge. Running becomes exhausting, and physical activities like climbing or carrying objects become incredibly demanding. Over time, the human body would likely adapt to these conditions. Generations of humans might evolve to be shorter, stockier, and more muscular. Our skeletons would become denser to support the added weight. Muscle strength would become a basic survival necessity rather than a trait of athletes alone. But it's not just humans who would struggle. The entire animal kingdom would be reshaped by this shift. Large animals like elephants, giraffes, and whales would likely not survive. Their bodies are already close to the limits of what their bones and muscles can support. Under double gravity, their mass would become too much, leading to collapses in their circulatory and skeletal systems. Flying animals would also be affected. Birds would have a much harder time taking off, staying aloft, or even flapping their wings. Some species might adapt by becoming flightless over time, while others may disappear entirely. Smaller creatures like insects might actually thrive. Their small size and exoskeleton structure help them handle stronger gravity better than large vertebrates. In fact, we might see an evolutionary trend toward smaller, tougher, more compact animals and plants. With stronger gravity, the atmosphere would also behave differently. It would be pulled closer to the Earth's surface, becoming denser and heavier. This leads to higher air pressure at ground level and potentially more oxygen per breath. That could sound like a good thing, providing more energy and stamina, but there are risks. Too much oxygen can accelerate aging, increase fire hazards, and affect brain chemistry. Weather patterns would become more extreme. Dense air means clouds are lower, storms are more intense, and rainfall is heavier. Hurricanes could become larger and more destructive. Raindrops would fall faster and hit harder, reshaping rivers, coastlines, and erosion patterns across the globe. Another consequence of a larger planet is slower rotation. A bigger Earth would spin more slowly due to its increased moment of inertia. That means longer days and nights. Instead of 24-hour days, we might experience 30 or 40-hour cycles. This would change our sleep patterns, work schedules, and even the way crops grow. Many plants rely on day length to regulate flowering and photosynthesis. Longer days might benefit some species while harming others. Farming would have to adapt to new cycles and potentially engineer plants to match the new solar rhythms. On a bigger Earth, the magnetic field could also be affected. If the rotation slows down significantly, the movement of the molten iron core that generates the magnetic field might weaken. This would reduce our planet's protection from solar radiation, exposing life to harmful cosmic rays and possibly increasing rates of cancer and damage to electronics. Our technology would face serious challenges. Satellites would need to be placed in different orbits to adjust to the new size and gravity of Earth. Many of our current systems for communication, PS, and weather tracking would become obsolete. Entire satellite networks would need to be rebuilt from scratch. Space travel would become much harder. Escaping Earth's gravity would require more fuel, more power, and better engineering. Right now, launching a spacecraft is already expensive and complex. With a gravity that's twice as strong, even reaching low Earth orbit might become impossible using current rocket technology. Back on the surface, infrastructure would need a complete redesign. Most of our buildings, bridges, and roads were not built with double gravity in mind. Tall buildings would collapse under their own weight, unless built with new materials and techniques. Cars would need stronger engines. Elevators would require more power. Transportation would become more costly and energy-intensive. Even daily activities like lifting groceries, climbing stairs, or exercising would feel like training on a high-gravity planet. Life would slow down. Cities would likely become more horizontal than vertical. Urban design would prioritize ground-level living, and many of our machines would need reinvention. This physical pressure could also have psychological effects. Living in a body that constantly feels weighed down might increase feelings of fatigue, stress, and depression. People may become less mobile, leading to more sedentary lifestyles. Over time, mental health issues might arise unless society adjusts by offering support and promoting new ways of living and interacting. Culturally, strength would become a symbol of success. Professions might shift toward intellectual or digital work, while physical labor becomes increasingly automated. Exercise and body care might become essential not for fitness, but for survival. Education, entertainment, and social life would adapt to. Virtual experiences could replace real travel. Architecture, fashion, and art would reflect the realities of life under stronger gravity. In short, a new culture would be born shaped by the invisible. Constant pull of a heavier Earth. Despite all these challenges, humans have an extraordinary ability to adapt. We've survived ice ages, pandemics, and natural disasters. If Earth suddenly became larger, we would suffer. Yes, but we would also evolve, innovate, and endure. In this alternate reality, humanity would face one of its greatest tests. But perhaps, just perhaps, we would come out stronger, not in spite of the extra gravity, but because of it. If you enjoyed this deep dive into a mind-bending scenario, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications for more what-if content, and let us know in the comments. How do you think life would change if Earth suddenly doubled in size? Thanks for watching.